Hi, I'm Tom Brookshire.
And I'm Pat Summerall. Last week, 2 winning streaks reached a little deeper into the pro football record books. The Miami Dolphins, for one, became only the second NFL team ever to win their first 12 games of the season.
The only other team to ever do that, Pat, was the Chicago Bears. They won 13 straight way back in 1934. I believe that's when they were called the Monsters of the Midway.
Well, the other long winning streak, of course, belongs to the Washington Redskins, who last week won a club record 9th straight victory to clinch their first title since 1945.
45. I remember that was the year of the first atomic bomb and the end of World War II. Would you believe, Pat, back in 45, there were only 10 teams in the NFL.
And for the NFL championship game that year, Sammy Baugh and the Redskins traveled to Cleveland, where they lost 15-14 to the Cleveland Rams. Not the Browns, the Rams.
The Rams. And Bob Waterfield was the Cleveland Rams quarterback. They won the title in Cleveland, and the next month they moved to sunny California.
The Redskins stayed in Washington, and 27 years later, they finally won another title. We'll see how they did it, as well as seeing the best action from all of last Sunday's games.
That's right, and Pat, don't forget the best of the week in our mind-boggling predictions at the end of this show.
In ancient times, it is said that Nero fiddled while Rome burned. At Busch Stadium in St. Louis, it is the team that fiddles while the fans burn.
The Cowboy-Cardinal game was not exactly a barn burner, so disgruntled St. Louis fans came up with an apt caption. For substitute Cardinal quarterback Jim Hart, the only bright moment on a bleak day was this touchdown shot to tight end Jackie Smith. Quarterback Roger Staubach made a late appearance for Dallas, and so did Bob Hayes. While Hayes could not muster the old touchdown touch, Staubach worked some kinks out of his old rusty sea legs and looked like the Dodger of old. On defense, Dallas was devastating, as old pros like middle linebacker Leroy Jordan, number 55, hogtied the Big Red running game. After a 7-game absence, defensive end Larry Cole returned, and his jarring tackle on Leo Hayden caused one of 7 St. Louis fumbles. The Cardinal defense produced its share of blunders, such as Larry Wilson's blatant early hit on Ron Sellers' number 88. While quarterback Craig Morton does not possess the daring that Dallas fans love in Roger Staubach, he runs laterally very well. And unlike Staubach, he likes to go to the bench for the very next play. Usually, Craig Morton contented himself with handing off to Calvin Hill, whose barrel house runs accounted for 120 yards rushing. The Cowboys' first touchdown came on a pretty piece of running by Walt Garrison, number 32. On Garrison's second touchdown, he butted safety Roger Worley like a bumper car and then scored. Jim Hart continued to toss thunderbolts, but cornerback Charlie Waters, number 41, shadowed Bobby Moore and looked up at precisely the right moment. Turnovers led to all 3 Dallas touchdowns, which were all scored by the same man, versatile Walt Garrison. The Dallas Cowboys beat up on the Cardinals 27-6, and all a shell-shocked Jim Hart could do was mutter about a season that has been all too long for the Redbirds.
Hey, Tom, I got a riddle for you.
Okay.
What is green, can't score, and is not welcome at home?
You really know how to hurt a guy, don't you, Pat? Let's see, green, can't score, and isn't welcome at home. Maybe it's a traveling salesman with cholera.
Everybody is welcome at Philadelphia's Veterans Stadium. Everybody, that is, except the Philadelphia Eagles. The town is down on the 2-8-1 Birds, and their second play from scrimmage demonstrated why. The Eagle game-opening blunder was predictable, but what followed wasn't. Unpredictably, the Philadelphia defense held on 3 downs and forced the Redskins to settle for a field goal. Even more unpredictably, the Eagles' lowly offense then racked up the game's first touchdown on a pass from John Reeves to 6'7" Harold Carmichael. Hoagie Carmichael's victory prance signaled the beginning of hard times for the Redskins in a game everyone had figured to be a laugher. Number 87, Jerry Smith, failed to come up with his patented weekly touchdown dive, and then the Eagle defense towed in and teed off on the heart of the Washington attack. Superstar Larry Brown, number 43, found his yards hard to come by as Eagle defenders purged their point-ridden souls. Larry Brown says his style is such that he must hurt for each yard he gains. Already this season, he has hurt 1,216 times. And the strain of this fantastic season has taken its toll on his weary legs. But the Redskins are a multifaceted powerhouse, and someone is always eager to pick up slack. Number 31, Charlie Haraway, is usually Larry Brown's blocking back, but the Eagles discovered that he can run with the same authority with which he rips open a hole. Haraway thumped out 77 tough yards, and then number 17, Billy Kilmer, revved up his rag arm and found Charlie Taylor for the score. In fact, the Kilmer-Taylor combination proved to be a lifesaver as the Eagles gave up ground grudgingly all afternoon. But the Skins can do it all as Brown and Haraway changed roles. Number 43 lead blocking to spring number 31 home free. In the end, each side had something to be grateful for. The Eagles had gained back some of the self-respect lost in their 62-10 disaster of the previous week. The Redskins had toughed out a 23-7 victory to clinch a title in the NFC Eastern Division. George Allen and his merry old men have come a long way in just 2 years. Eddie Kayat and his battered Birds are still looking for a place to start.
Last week, the New York football Giants made their first trip to Cincinnati, where they faced a coach they had seen before 28 times. Before last week, Paul Brown's record against the Giants was an even 13-2.
When the Giants invaded Cincinnati's Riverfront Stadium last week, they had not yet cooled from their torrid 62-point spree of the week before. And both teams needed victories to stay in contention. New York's Ron Johnson was closing in on his second 1,000-yard rushing season, and on this play, he surpassed that magic number on his way to 119 yards for the day. While Johnson packed most of the punch for the Giants, quarterback Ken Anderson was the big gun for the Bengals. 17 times Anderson connected, 5 of them to 6'5" Chip Myers. The game's most spectacular pass play came when Anderson scrambled until he found 6'6" Bob Trumpy, number 84. Unfortunately for Anderson and Trumpy, a penalty nullified the touchdown. But undaunted by his ill fortune, Ken Anderson kept coming back for more. Once again, a spectacular score was negated by a penalty, and Ken Anderson could be forgiven for thinking he was snake-bit. Anderson's New York counterpart, Norm Snead, suffered ill fortune of a different kind. 3 times the Bengals intercepted, 2 by number 52, Doug Adams, who had replaced the injured Bill Berge at middle linebacker. Ken Anderson's luck finally held long enough to get the ball to tight end Bruce Coslett in the end zone before any yellow flags could fall. And after 3 quarters, Cincinnati led 13-3. Midway in the 4th quarter, number 11, Randy Johnson, finally got the Giants moving with a pass to his tight end, Bob Tucker. With 4 minutes to play, Johnson brought the Giants to within 3 points when he found Don Herman open in the end zone. With 2 minutes left, Randy Johnson had one last shot at a victory. But his pass intended for Bob Tucker was cut off by Tom Casanova, and the Giants' playoff hopes were dashed 13-10. At 7-5, the Bengals were still alive and hoping.
Last Monday night, the Los Angeles Rams defeated the San Francisco 49ers, and those 2 teams are now tied in the NFC West, and that seems to be the way it always goes, Pat.
But there's an element in the NFC West which is definitely new, Tom. It's called the first place Atlanta Falcons.
To ready themselves for the Falcons, the Houston Oilers tried every manner of exotic exercise, but no amount of preparation could have had the Oilers ready for what awaited them in Atlanta. Most of the time, the combatants were involved in a football game. On Houston's first series, number 14, starting quarterback Kent Nix, tried to find some daylight in the tough Atlanta pass defense. Number 34, strong safety Ray Brown returned the first of his 2 interceptions, 46 yards, and Atlanta was within scoring range early. Ray Brown's interception was translated into 7 points when number 43, Dave Hampton, swept to his left and crashed in for the game's first score. Moments after Hampton's touchdown, Kent Nix again tried to bomb the Falcons, this time with play action on 3rd and 1. Double O Ken Burrow would have had an easy touchdown, except the entire play was canceled by a penalty. Then Kent Nix's misfortune really multiplied. Claude Humphrey's recovery set up a Falcon field goal and a 10-0 Atlanta lead, but Kent Nix kept firing. Five times the Falcons intercepted, and in the 3rd quarter, Dave Hampton squirmed to another touchdown, the lead 20-3. With the game almost out of reach, Dante Pastorini brought his injured ribs into the game and fired long for Ken Burrow. Burrow's 48-yard play set up a Houston touchdown, scored by dashing Dante Pastorini himself. The Falcons held off Pastorini and the Oilers for the rest of the game and found themselves in first place and ready for this week's showdown with the 49ers in San Francisco.
In Baltimore last week, the Colts continued their late-season resurgence. But while their fortunes are looking up, Colt fans may have taken a last short glimpse at their beloved legend, old number 19.
In Baltimore this year, a once proud dynasty had hit the skids. But suddenly, led by a rejuvenated defense, the Colts have turned their season around. Against the Buffalo Bills, number 20 Jerry Logan intercepted to start the Baltimore onslaught. The youth movement, led by number 14 Marty Domrys, caught fire early as Domrys hit number 23 Don McCauley for 2 scores that in themselves would have been enough to assure victory over the Bills. Another part of the Colts youth movement is number 26 Lydell Mitchell, the former Penn State teammate of Pittsburgh's Franco Harris, who is finally coming into his own. But as important as the defense, McCauley or Mitchell are, it is Marty Domrys who leads the Colts now, and it's Domrys who initiates the big plays. And so it came to pass that when the Baltimore wise men saw that the game was out of the Bills' reach, a fading star appeared in the east. And for number 19, the one they called the man, or the living legend, it was probably the last time he would ever enter a game for the Baltimore Colts in Baltimore. Fittingly, the last pass John Unitas threw for the hometown fans went for a touchdown. True, it was only the great effort of Eddie Hinton that made it a score, but nonetheless, in the record books, it will always read Unitas to Hinton, 63 yards for a touchdown. It only seemed right that John Unitas should leave Baltimore the way he entered it all those years ago. For no matter what the Colt record reads or how big a part he played, John Unitas was truly a winner for all seasons.
You know, Tom, the New Orleans Saints have a very poor record, but it's a misleading record. They are a vastly improved team.
Well, that's for sure, Pat. The Saints were slowed by injuries from the very beginning, but now some of those key players are returning, and they're showing what might have been.
The New York Jets, still fighting to stay alive in the battle for a wild card playoff berth, face the improving New Orleans Saints in Shea Stadium. With Archie Manning growing in consistency week after week, the Saints threw a ball control offense at the Jets, which rolled up 22 first downs and 343 yards of total offense. New Orleans took their role as spoilers seriously as Archie completed 19 of 31 throws, many on third down to sustain 2 long touchdown drives. In the first quarter, Archie hit number 83, Dave Parks, with this 19-yarder to set up a New Orleans field goal. The Saints' first touchdown capped a 14-play drive when number 35, Bob Gresham, squirmed in after a 3-yard run. New Orleans' second drive consumed 18 plays and was consummated by an 8-yard Archie Manning to Bill Butler connection, making the score Saints 17, Jets 9 in the fourth quarter. But while the Jets' defense bent, it did not break. And this early Thomas interception set up Bobby Howfield's 5th field goal of the day, making it 17-15 with the period half gone. Meanwhile, Joe Namath was hitting 21 of 40 passes for 259 yards, but no touchdowns, as the Saints defense bottled up the Jets' attack and scotched Namath in the end zone. But in the last seconds, one completion and 2 interference calls brought Namath and the Jets into field goal range. With no time showing, Bobby Howfield hit his 6th three-pointer of the day, a 42-yarder, and the Jets were still alive and kicking for a playoff berth, beating the New Orleans Saints 18-17.
The Kansas City Chiefs have had a sad story to tell this season, Tom.
Boy, Pat, it's a tragic tale, all about a new pleasure palace that's turned into a torture chamber.
Arrowhead Stadium opened 11 weeks ago, filled with fiery optimism. 5 home losses later, the dreams of Kansas City Super Bowl VII have grown stone cold. Last week, a hardy few ventured out in icy winds to watch the Chiefs wind down against the equally frigid Denver Broncos. While the Chiefs are not accustomed to finishing out a season playing meaningless games, this is one area where the Broncos have vast experience. Number 83, Tom Graham, heaped more woes on the Chiefs, and then number 12, Charlie Johnson, went to work on number 40, Jim Marcellus. Officials ruled that number 25, Haven Moses, was illegally leaned on, and the interference call set up a 1-yard Floyd Little touchdown to give Denver the early lead. But for the unbelieving Marcellus, the worst was yet to come. This time, Johnson and Moses connected for 6 points, and Marcellus reflected the frustration of Kansas City's winter of discontent. But then the Chief defense began to find a useful outlet for this frustration. They broke down Johnson's pass pocket and sacked him 4 times, then picked him clean when he looked for the quick out. Sneak thief Jim Kearney, number 46, slipped in from 29 yards out as the Chiefs and Coach Hank Stram took a rare opportunity to celebrate with an Arrowhead war dance. Now it was too late for a title, but suddenly a year of hard luck seemed to be evening itself out. Was it an incomplete pass or a fumble? This time, the Chiefs won a judgment call to set up Ed Podolak's 1-yard touchdown run. Now Johnson felt he had been robbed, but the real thievery came on Denver's next offensive series. Number 78, Bobby Bell, loped 61 yards in his red high tops to remind everyone that many superior athletes remain of a team which was once tabbed the Super Chiefs. Bell's touchdown and a Jan Stenerud field goal gave Kansas City a 21-14 lead and rendered harmless a last-minute Denver touchdown by number 22, Fran Lynch. In a season which had started with such lofty goals, a 24-21 victory over a last-place team may not seem very important. But for Chief fans, or rather what is left of them, it was enough to kindle hope for a different kind of year next season at Arrowhead.
Despite the Chiefs' victory last Sunday, it was the Oakland Raiders who made it 5 division championships in the last 6 years.
But it took all the pride and poise the Raiders could muster in order for them to slip past the San Diego Chargers.
San Diego coach Harlan Savari had good reason to look perplexed last Sunday because after 11 weeks of the toughest schedule in the NFL, there was still no let-up in sight. And last week, it was those barrage-ballooning Oakland Raiders who dropped in from the north to see if they could sew up a division title. The first time the Chargers had the ball, John Hadel threw, and Raider linebacker Gerald Irons intercepted to send the silver and black streaky. Darryl LaMonica capitalized on a touchdown throw to Ray Chester to make it 7-0. But the Chargers were willing to play the game of intercept and score also. An interception by Bryant Salter, number 30, stopped this Raider drive, and a 1-yard score by Sid Edwards gave San Diego a 10-7 lead. But as they do so often, the Raiders hit the Lightning Brigade from San Diego with a bolt of their own. And the LaMonica to Biletnikoff bomb put Oakland ahead again. The Chargers' Mike Garrett, number 20, ground out 145 yards, rushing more with desire than actually with blocking. John Hadel went to Gary Garrison, number 27, and the Ghosts fluttered 52 yards into the end zone. With a 19-14 lead into the last quarter, San Diego was again on the move. Only an interception of a deflected pass by Raider linebacker number 55, Dan Connors, saved Oakland. The near disaster shook the Raiders to life, and they began one of those typical last-minute comebacks that has made them the epitome of pride and poise. With only 1:23 left in the game, number 23, Charlie Smith, made the Raiders the AFC Western Division titleists. The Raiders' 21-19 win was a slim one, a victory that Bob Brown and Deacon Jones know was decided in the trenches. And it proves the Chargers still have a way to go before they reach the title spot the Raiders have occupied for 5 of the last 6 years.
In Pittsburgh last week, the Steelers faced their arch rivals, the Cleveland Browns, in a showdown for supremacy in the AFC Central.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are challenging for their first NFL title in 4 decades. They've not lost a home game this year, and their fans are in love. They are Franco's Italian army, celebrating a new dictator among running backs, a rookie named Franco Harris. They are also Jarrella's Gorillas, in honor of Roy Jarrella, the central figure on Pittsburgh's special teams. For it is here on that bomb squad that the Steelers reflect their depth in talent and incentive. This balance of power was felt early in the Steelers' crucial AFC Central contest with the rival Cleveland Browns, as number 26 Preston Pearson made his hit Steeler style. Known as the Steel Curtain, the defense is a big part of Pittsburgh's balance of power. And it too boasts a potential all-pro product from nearby Penn State, number 59 Jack Ham. But Franco Harris was the ex-Penn Stater most feared by the Cleveland Browns. For Harris brought perfect balance, blended running and passing to the Pittsburgh offense. And one more 100-yard performance would give the dictator of Franco's Italian army 6 in a row, tying him with Cleveland's great number 32 Jimmy Brown. Franco Harris did not disappoint. He was the spearhead, the blasting calf igniting the offense, completing that balance of power that is the Pittsburgh Steelers of '72. Harris gained more than 100 yards for the 6th consecutive game, while scoring 2 touchdowns to give Pittsburgh a commanding 17-0 lead. Then Terry Bradshaw combined with number 89 John McMakin, a rookie tight end from Clemson, and the 78-yard play put the game on ice. Bradshaw's second touchdown pass, a feint of beauty to number 43 Frank Lewis, was called back. It didn't count, but it might as well have, as Pittsburgh's balance and power overwhelmed the Browns 30-0, leaving the Steelers at 9-3 alone at the top of the AFC Central Division.
In 10th century England, it was said that the citizens of the coastal regions would cringe at the sight of a Viking ship and say, "O Lord, please spare us from the fury of the Northmen." That plea was usually disregarded. And in Minnesota last week, Chicago saw what fury the Vikings could bring to bear.
At Metropolitan Stadium, the cheerleaders snowballed each other silly in preparation for the avalanche that was to come. The Purple Gang banged the Bears at will, and the ball became the only hot thing in the subarctic freeze. Whenever the Bears approached Minnesota's goal line, number 81 Carl Eller wrapped up the runners like Christmas presents. One of the rare moments of joy for the Bears came when number 48 Ron Smith, the gingerbread man, cakewalked 81 yards to a touchdown on a punt return. Unfortunately for the gingerbread man, his run to glory was aborted by a clipping penalty. Viking quarterback Fran Tarkington often found number 42 John Gilliam running free and easy in the deep seams of the Chicago zone. The shaky line between possession or incompletion brought out the beast in the Bears, Abe Gibron. Undaunted, Tarkington kept on firing, Gilliam kept on receiving, and the Bears kept on hitting. The Vikings' first touchdown resulted from another Tarkington bullet through the crease to John Henderson, number 80. Minnesota's only other touchdown came when number 35, Jim Harrison, was crushed in the purple Mixmaster. Harrison fumbled to Bobby Bryant, who raced to an easy score as the Northmen ho-hummed their way past the Bears 23-10.
Well, the Vikings refused to give up on a shot at the playoffs, and of course it all comes down to this week for them, Tom.
And Pat, their opponent this week is Green Bay, a team that last week sent the Detroit Lions really packing.
Last week, the Lions came roaring into Green Bay, and like big bad wolves, they were ready to huff and puff and blow the pack down. But they didn't so much as stir a zephyr until the last 3 seconds of the game, when Bill Munson to Ron Jesse accounted for all the Detroit points. Until then, although the teams huffed and puffed and bled equally, the Packers proved they wanted the victory more than the Lions. So it was the fine Green Bay defense that was blowing people down. Even the usually sure-handed Larry Walton, number 49, was as intimidated as one little pig going to market. And when the Lions blew it, number 48, Ken Ellis, was there to recover a fumble or to steal a tipped pass and set up a touchdown. Number 16, quarterback Scott Hunter, ran the ball in for one Green Bay score. However, the Lions' worst mauling came at the hands of number 42, John Brockington, who was stopped on this play by number 20, Lem Barney. And although Barney proved to be the only silver lining in Detroit's cloudy afternoon, he couldn't do it all himself. But he did try, as on this play he stripped the blocker of his senses and made the tackle. But then John Brockington blew a few houses down and could have even demolished one made of bricks as he gave the Packers a 33-7 win over the Lions. Gave a few signs in Green Bay some validity, for the moment anyway.
Last week in New England, the Dolphins won their 12th game in a row, and Patriot fans finally got some relief as the Pats finished out their home season of 1972.
It has not been a bang-up year for the New England Patriots. Last week they were facing the Miami Dolphins, which only made matters worse. For New England quarterback Jim Plunkett, it has been a bang-up year, and he's been banged up and knocked down many, many times. Last week, Larry Zonka, number 39, was bullying his way for huge gains as usual, and although he fumbled at the end of this play, the whistle had blown. However, the Dolphins had to settle for a field goal. In fact, throughout the first half, the Patriot defense almost stymied the Miami attack. Number 29, Honor Jackson, made a great interception and return to end one Dolphin drive. Just before the half, Plunkett unleashed a long pass that number 21, Tom Reynolds, turned into a super score. The Patriots trailed by only 13-7. But in the third period, Miami unloaded as number 83, Vern Den Herder, intercepted to put the Dolphins in good shape. Earl Morrill hit number 88, Jim Mandich, and the rout was on. Morrill to Marlon Briscoe made it 30-7, and it was time to clear the Miami bench. Number 32, Hubert Ginn, put the Dolphins up 37-7 and made one wonder if there's any end to those Miami runners. In the subs versus subs game, number 14, Brian Dowling, hit number 36, John Tarver, for one New England tally. Later, a pass from Jim Delgazo was picked off by Honor Jackson to set up a Brian Dowling one-yard score. And although the Patriot subs outscored the Patriot regulars, no one outscores the Miami Dolphins, who are now looking for 13 straight.
Well, those Dolphins never cease to amaze me. They've given up the least points in the NFL. They've scored the most. It seems like they could be our best of the week almost any week, Pat.
I think you're right, Tom. But this week there were two other teams who I think outdid the Dolphins, and both of them were up against first-place opponents.
Let's see, one of those teams would have to be Green Bay. They sure made me wonder why I picked Detroit last week. A great team effort for Dan Devine's Pack.
So our best of the week selection this week goes to the Green Bay Packers and to the team that completely manhandled the Cleveland Browns. And that, of course, would be Chuck Noll's Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, they are nothing but tough right now, you know. I guess hitters is about the best way to describe that Pittsburgh Steeler team, the entire squad.
It's a hungry-looking defense, I'll tell you, with Jack Ham and Joe Green and a lot of guys you never heard of, but they do hit.
And Terry Bradshaw, the big blonde from down in Louisiana, has really settled himself into a great quarterback.
Yes, he has. It seems like he's not running as much as he was before, and he's become a much more intelligent quarterback, I think, and he'll approach a defense and he'll take what the defense gives him.
And he also gives the ball to Franco Harris, which shows you how intelligent he is.
What an asset that guy has been. Just unbelievable. He has a chance, I believe, Tom, this week to break Jim Brown's record.
I think he runs probably in the open field as good as any big back I ever saw.
I think you're right. Well, how about our picks for this week, Tom? Your record now is 18-15. I'm 12-21. Looks like I'm going to get the first draft choice.
Okay, how about Green Bay at Minnesota, Pat? You're going to be up there.
Right. I like the Vikings' chances here. They seem to be able to dominate and win in their own division just about at will.
I'm going to go with Green Bay, even though they're playing in Minnesota.
Okay, how about Atlanta at San Francisco? What do you think?
Van Brocklin's got it going. I think the Dutchman's going to get into the playoffs for the first time.
Okay, I'll go with the 49ers. The Jets at Oakland. What do you think?
I like Oakland.
Okay, I'll stick with Joe Namath. At any rate, we'll be back next week to show you what happens. I'm Pat Summerall.
And I'm Tom Brookshire, and we'll see you next week.